something else I was going to talk about, which was toxic people. I like this phrase. I feel like this phrase is a revolution. So, for example, if you put it into context, if you put yourself in a dangerous or negative situation, you're not going to feel any better. I have had encounters with various toxic people, and some of them are obvious, some of them are quite considerably less obvious. So an example is my dad. That's not an obvious toxic person. When you're a kid, your dad is not supposed to be somebody that you need to get rid of. Like, they're supposed to be somebody that you need around. And of course, as a child, didn't really see that. You just sort of live through other people's expectations, and you live through what is considered normal. In everything that happens to you, accept as normal. You don't question it. You don't know anything about anybody else's life, so you sort of say, that's normal because that happens to me every day. Like, whether it's wrong or not is another matter. Like, but that happens to me every day, so why would I question it? And that's totally sensible. Anyway, so there was my dad, who I didn't cut out of my life properly till I was probably... I started to feel like it was an issue once I was in high school. And then I was like, oh, but you didn't cut your dad off. Like, that's bad. Like, blaming myself. And then I kind of just got really angry and was like, hey, you're a wanker. I don't like you. You're useless. To which he replied, I wouldn't say that. Which I think is funny, but hey. And leave me alone. And I'm not speaking to you after this. Like, at all, like, ever again. And he still sends me ridiculous letters. Well, not letters, just cards saying see you soon. I don't think I will see you soon. I don't think I'm going to see you again. Not even at your funeral, mate. So, go away. And he can send his cards if they make him feel better, but I'm not going to read them. They go in the bin, and I don't really care. The other form of toxic people that I think this is really obvious is bullies. And bullies can be, to an extent, they could describe everybody who is toxic. Because bullying behaviour tends to be the qualities of toxic people. You know, like making someone feel blame, putting someone down all the time. But bullies in the sense of people at school that are horrible, or that's really what a bully is to most people, like somebody at school that was nasty to you, that doesn't matter anymore. No, I don't think that's true. I think that bullies always matter to you. When you have been bullied, you don't just go, oh, it's okay now, like, I'm okay now, that's fine. Like, 20 years later, you're still like, not really, that doesn't sit with me. The things that happened to me when I was bullied do not sit with me as acceptable. The other form of toxic, like, the disguise a toxic person can take is friends. Friends are people... Let's Google what a friend is. Friend. A person with whom one has a bond of mutual affection, typically one inclusive of sexual or family relations. Now, that really doesn't describe a friend to me. Like, that is just a description that is a friend at its basics. A friend is somebody who should be loyal to you. They should be balanced. If you put a friend on, like, you and a friend on a scale of a metaphorical sense, not an actual scale, that would be weird. You should be, the sort of weight of the friendship should be balanced, not like one person's really down, the other person's really up. For example, you always lend your friend money, but they never lend you money. You're always there for a friend, but they're never there for you, or, that kind of stuff. They shouldn't criticize negatively everything you do. This is all the stuff that used to happen to me in a group of people. Negative criticism for everything. For going to university, or you shouldn't have done that. For what I study. No. Like, I'm not interested in that. It's like, well, you should be, because whether the subject actually interests you, I study it, and I'm supposed to be your friend, so you should care, really. Like, even if you feel like you've got to ask really mundane questions, you should care. The biggest sort of giveaway to a toxic person is usually that, for a start, everything's always about them in every situation. Like, even things that are about you are about them. And the way they treat other people, is just an indicator of how insecure they are. Like, it doesn't have to be you, but it can just be the way they talk about other people. Like, quote, "Why has he got friends?" Like, what kind of question is that to ask about your friend? Like, I legitimately had a friend who asked me about somebody else we were friends with, why he had friends. Toxic people do not exclude your family and friends. And I totally encourage you to just either create huge distance from the person. Like, for the most part, when somebody's toxic, like everybody does. It's not unknown to you who's toxic to you. But what you tend to do when it's like a friend or a family member especially is to deny it and pretend it's not going on, or pretend that it's your fault, or pretend that you owe them something and you don't owe them anything. You're actually better off away from them. And you can either continue to suffer for years and years and years, usually in most people's cases. Imagine it like you're a solid block and then someone's chipping away at you, and the block just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. That's what you're just going to end up about this big. And they'll just laugh at you. Like, that's the truth of it. Then they're just gaining more and more and more from you, and you're not gaining anything from them. So either create a huge distance where you say, well, I'll still speak to you, but I'm not really that interested in you. Like, I'm not gonna let you degrade them, or you just cut them off. Totally cut them off. And if you are undecided, what I suggest you do is give them this deadline that says, if you can't make this change to the way you treat me by this period of time, then I'm cutting you off. I didn't do that. I sort of waited I started noticing what was going on years ago, really. And I sort of tripped myself into, like, staying all the time. And there was always a reason that I should do this, and there was always a reason that I should talk to them, but I'd always come away from the situation miserable. So you can just imagine how soul-wrenching it is. Like, you see your friend and you come away, like, feeling like you just had your insides taken out, and I just let it carry on. I knew it was unacceptable, but I let it carry on. I just was like, well, it was almost like, what would I do without these people? Like, I'm just that used to this situation, so I don't even know where to start from getting away from them. I don't even know where to start to tell them. Like, I had so many arguments, and they were always right, and I was like, you're not right all the time. Nobody's right all the time. Like, the things you do are always somebody else's fault, and it wasn't just in arguments between me. It was arguments between anybody she had arguments with. It was always their fault, or it was always someone else's fault. It was always, don't talk to me about this, talk to them about this. And it's like, well, no, I'm talking to you about it, because you're the person whose fault it is. Oh, don't try and get other people to make excuses for you, because you're the only person who can justify what you've done. You can't get someone else to justify that for you. Primarily, I just want people to know, because I didn't necessarily realise it, or sort of bring it to the forefront of my head like I do now. Primarily, you do have control of your life. It's not always your fault if you can't take control of it, but you actually don't think that you're not in control of your life, and don't let anybody make you think that they're in control of you, because they're not. They are not in control of you. That is not really how it works, and if you feel like someone else is in control of you, they're probably bullying you. Wake up to it. I just sort of urge you to look at the people, like, routinely look at the people that surround you and ask yourself, do they pull their weight in the relationship that it is? Do they know their boundaries? Do they ever admit they're wrong? Ask yourself, is it a positive relationship for the most part? Like, am I arguing with them about silly things all the time? Or do we, like, hardly ever argue? And it's okay to argue about silly things, but it's not okay to argue about things and it's always your fault, like, especially if it's things that shouldn't be your fault. It's something they've done. Is it always turned back on you? Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, there are going to be times where you do things wrong, but if you go to call someone out on something because they've upset you and they're denying that it's even, that what you've said is even valid, that's not acceptable to any degree. Like, if I say something and my friend's like, hey, you shouldn't say stuff like that, that really upset me, I would apologise for upsetting them, even if that's not how I meant it to come across. The biggest thing I can do is to say, hey, I'm sorry, I won't do that again, or, you know, I didn't mean it like that and this is what I meant. But to always just sort of to try and run away from it and be like, well, it's your fault because of this. The other thing is to try to take control of the things that the things you do. Who do you associate with? What is your lifestyle like? All these things, they will help you. They won't cure you, but they will help you. And it will hurt if you have to cut somebody off. It's not like it's going to be joy and laughter. It is going to hurt, but it's not going to keep going like this. You're not going to, in some ways, you're going to be on a level. You're not going to have someone beating you up all the time, and that's a good thing. So just think about that.